Hi, everybody. It's Colleen Pearl, the Cool Crone, and I'm here with my friend. Oh, you're on this side. Sibyl Harmony. Wait, you're over there. I was doing it the right way. Sibyl Harmony. It's that kind of day, folks. We're just a little tiny bit discombobulated, but you know, us psychics, we're a little discombobulated all the time, and that's a good thing because we're talking to other entities. Okay, Sibyl, hi. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for coming up with this idea for this show. I thought this was great.
I'm honored. Yes. Thank you for having me. Delighted to be on your show.
Yeah. So today we decided we would combine astrology and maybe some cards and also all sorts of whatever psychic stuff is coming through so that we can talk to you about the Republican convention. We might mention the Democratic convention. I have also done charts about the Republican and Democratic parties, although I haven't looked at them yet. So this is all happening in real time, right in front of you. I also have charts for Biden, for Kamala Harris, and for Trump, and the three amigos on SCOTUS, Roberts, Alito, and Thomas.
Oh, okay.
And I have a chart for AOC. So I hope we get to all of that. We don't have all day to talk, but we will get into it. So
Do you have Kamala's chart?
yeah, I do.
Oh,
You
okay.
want to start with her?
Yeah, let's start with her.
Okay, let me find where I have her. Here's her chart. And I did it with the transits for this Monday, which is a big day for Biden, but also a big day for the Republicans. So let me share and then we can take a look at this. Okay, so this is Kamala's chart. And let me see if I can't really move this up much. Let me make it just slightly smaller. There we go. Then you can see the whole thing. So Kamala has a really phenomenal chart in general for this country. She connects to certain things in the country's chart, but she has Jupiter just approaching her ascendant, which means that she always thinks big. Now, she's a Gemini rising, so she's always thinking up new ideas. She's able to multitask like, you know what? She's just awesome at that. But her moon is in Aries opposite her sun, which is in Libra. Now, people who are born on a full moon very often do really well in the public eye. And the reason is when they're born, the energy of the full moon is opposites, but also kind of push me, pull you. So you would think that she would be a feisty person. And yes, moon in Aries, she's going to be a little feisty. But people born on the full moon are usually very good at understanding the other, somebody who is not them. They're good at understanding how to build relationships, usually, unless they're, taken a dark path in their life, but usually they're really good at understanding the other. And this is why people like a lot of royalty, I know they're born on eclipses or full moons or not new moons so much. Then they become too self-involved if they're that powerful. But the full moon people, they really get what it is to be someone other than them, even though they may be very privileged or they may have come from very humble beginnings. And that's the situation with Kamala. She also has Saturn near her midheaven, so she works hard for everything. She doesn't expect to just have things handed to her. She's really, really a hard worker. Right now, Saturn is going through her 10th house, so she's really being put through the ringer as far as her tasks to learn and her lessons to learn. But she does have the Mars Uranus conjunction on top of her Jupiter, which is wild, which means that this is why you're seeing people talk so much about her taking on the role as the presidential candidate, because it's just sparks of ideas, sparks of what people think are inspiration. Oh, this is great. We'll just put her in and then we'll solve all our problems. But also just for her personally, this aspect is pretty much blowing up her life. It's changing her life. It's going to change her life even more in the coming weeks. And people are mentioning a lot about the fixed star Algol. Algol doesn't move very fast. It's In 72 years, it might move 1 whole degree. I mean, we're talking way slower than even Pluto. And Algol is connected natally to Jupiter and by transit, but there's no transit. It's a fixed star. That's why the ancients called them fixed, because they didn't appear to move at all. And this is where Uranus and Mars are really sitting on top of Algol, and Algol is kind of a dangerous star. So this is probably why she went into law enforcement. She was a prosecutor in California, and she was really successful at it. Algol represents, I believe it was Perseus cutting off Medusa's head. So it's the leader who loses their head. Now, does this mean that she's going to lose her head? No, because Uranus in her chart, it is important, but it doesn't have a lot of emphasis on it right now. It's kind of like just sitting down there in her fourth house where it always is. And even Mars doesn't have a lot of emphasis in her chart right now. So I don't think that this is meant for her. I think this is meant more in the larger sense, like maybe for our country. So we'll look at that a little bit later. But so that's a little blip on Kamala Harris.
Okay. So I don't see her. She's totally supporting Biden. Of course, she's his VP. And Biden is staying in the race. So that's been all over for weeks now. I feel like that chatter will calm down. But it's kind of, I just don't see it, barring some kind of health issue. I mean, we still have some time to go. But I think it's what my guides are telling me is that when we look at trying to replace Biden, I know we're talking about Kamala, but since we have this, we're talking about what a great vice president she is, or being president someday, which I believe she will be.
Me too.
Yeah, but since we're talking, that's been in the news. I just want to clarify that I'm not seeing that he's stepping aside and she's taking over, anything like that. I feel like she was an excellent choice for vice president for him. He said he's staying in. His speech was really amazing. Yesterday, he's been out speaking. And obviously, he's very good at what he does. He has a great message. And he has years of wisdom. So we're not talking, I'm not seeing that. I'll speak for myself. I'm not seeing that happening. I feel like he stays in. Now, I do feel like at some point I see her as president. Just because I looked at her energy, I don't probably see that happening before the convention, but maybe, or the election, but maybe at some point afterwards, maybe he does step down. But I feel like that. I do feel like she has presidential energy on a soul level. Kamala Harris has a soul agreement to come here and work to help all people. Like of course, she's a woman of color. And so she's here to help us with race relations. This is part of her soul agreement. And so she's also a prosecutor.
Yeah.
And so she's a very powerful woman. I thought she had a Gemini North node.
Yes, she does.
Okay.
It's in her first house. It's conjunct her ascendant. So it's very her North Star, her feeling of mission and that she has a destiny, very strong for her.
Yeah. She's excellent. She's becoming better orator, sorry.
That's okay.
Than she was. But with all this Gemini, she's really good at communicating. She's somebody said who that was. She decapitated somebody in the Senate. Who was that? But just by speaking, not physically, of course, but she's just very powerful. And so when I look at her name, because I like to do a play on names, because I was looking at her soul purpose, being here to bring the law and to working here about race relations. Okay, so that we have positive race relations and role models for people of color and in our country. But her name, interesting, is it spelled? I'm dyslexic, so Kamala.
Kamala.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Kamala. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ka is karma. My guide said, and then Ma is the mother, the divine feminine.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And then La is law.
Law.
Karma, feminine of the law. That's her.
That is her. That is her. Yeah.
And when I looked up the meaning of her name, that was the message my guides gave me. When I looked up the meaning of her name, I saw the meaning of her name means something like the lotus who wins, or the lotus who starts the new beginning. And so we're coming into the age of Aquarius, and so the new beginning. So I do feel this is more after Biden gets elected, but I do feel that she will. I mean, some things, we still have a ways to go here. Something could happen, but I do see her as president, more like not so much getting elected because she's a woman of color. I think a lot of people, the Republicans are terrified of her.
Oh yeah.
And notice how corporate media has kept her name out of this.
Oh yeah. They barely acknowledge that she exists.
Yeah, and she is really working behind the scenes. I see her she's been doing double duty, and she is on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, that Gemini rising helps her think on her feet, helps her be very quick. Her Mercury, where is that silly old Mercury? Can't see it on there. There it is. Her Mercury actually is in Scorpio conjunct her sun, which is sometimes hard for people. They get a little like overly stimulated. And I would have thought with a Mercury rising that would be a tough spot for her to actually use her speech in that way. But she does have Algol, the asteroid, the decapitating one, conjunct Jupiter, which is also rules the law. So I'm not surprised that people refer to her as decapitating her opponents. It just makes she's just living out her purpose so fully. She's so fully expressing everything that's in there, right down to her, her north node on her ascendant. She really came here to do a specific thing, and she is fully embracing that mission. I just love that. I love what you said. That's just beautiful. I have to book you for a reading. I just really have to get a reading from you. I want to tell you that. So, all right. So who do we want to talk? Are you done talking about Kamala? Do you want to? Okay. So who do we want to talk about next? You want to go to the convention, maybe?
Sure. The Democrat convention?
Let's do the Republican one.
Republican.
Yeah, let's do the Republican one first. Let me just pull it up here. Oh.
Sorry, I dropped the card.
Oh, there it is. Okay, no problem. I got to share. So every time I take it off the screen, it makes me share again. Okay. There we go. Okay. All right. So here is the Republican convention. I'm just going to move this like so you can see a little better. And the Republican convention, honestly, doesn't have great astrology. This is very powerfully aggressive. It's got, the moon will be in Scorpio probably starting Sunday. I'm not 100% sure, but by the time of the first day of the convention, we've got the moon in exact opposition to Mars, which is still conjunct Uranus and that fixed star Algol. This is not great for a bunch of people represented by the moon coming together in a somewhat public forum and exchanging ideas. There's going to be a lot of hotheads. There's going to be a lot of contention. There could be violence. The potential for violence is very, very strong. These guys are at the these guys are more at the end of Taurus. And as the moon goes throughout the day, it's going to get to the end of Scorpio, making that even a stronger aspect. But it also is it's in an okay aspect with Pluto. It's in a wide trine. So all that does, though, Pluto is never Mr. Nice Guy. Pluto is power. Pluto is intensity. So if you feel the energy of Pluto here, what it's going to do is it's going to fuel the aggression and the explosiveness and the contention that's going on with the convention. Also, Pluto is in opposition to the sun on this first day of the convention. Another not really great way to have Pluto just facing off. So, what is that? Power struggles. So the power struggles at the Republican convention are going to be huge. There's going to be a lot of jostling for position. I have said in some of my astrology videos for this that there could be some kind of mutiny. There could be people saying, no, we're not going along with what you're saying. We're opposing this or that. So there could be some real hot heads at the convention. And I know that a lot of MAGAs are kind of violent people. A lot of them own guns and carry guns. So, I mean, I don't think this is a good. I think there's something bad might happen at the convention. That's all I'm gonna say. What do you bet about it?
Well, what could it be that they're violent people and that their platform is violent? It's patriarchal. It's violent. It feels to me like a MAGA convention. It doesn't feel. They've uninvited Nikki Haley.
Yep.
And they have all these speakers that they said are regular people, but they're people that are supporting Trump. It feels like a takeover.
Yeah.
Violent people and a violent agenda.
Yeah, and it's paid for and hosted by the Heritage Foundation.
Okay.
Ergo, very little televising of very many speeches, just select things at select times. So,
so between all them, they're going to get along very well within each other.
Right. But
I feel like they've excluded people. It's more like a takeover.
Yes. And you're going to find that the people who are excluded are really not happy about it and are going to push back as hard as they possibly can. There's a huge power struggle that's going to go on. If it were all MAGAs kissing all of their own pachicas, that would be kumbaya, great. We're all going to go take over the government. But it's not that. There's going to be big power struggles within the Republican Party.
Yeah, I see fighting and I see power struggles.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they've really, talk about, cut off your nose to spite your face. They didn't bring in the other regular Republicans. They uninvited Nikki Haley. So it feels to me more like what I'm getting is a takeover. It's not really the Republican convention, which is what he's been doing all along.
That's right. That's what he's been doing all along.
Yeah.
Now, if you will indulge me, I'd love to look at the chart of the Republican Party itself.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find that. Let me just take this off for just a second, and I'll just flip through these till I get to it.
I mean, it feels really unpredictable. Anything could happen. And, it is a lot of, macho bullying energy, but I don't know. So now I'll be interested to see what happens.
Yeah, this is really interesting. So I forget even what the Republican Party convention sun was in. Well, it was in Cancer. Okay, so there we go. Because this is the Republican Party that started in this chart I'm getting from Denise Siegel. There was another astrologer, Jessica Adams, that had a different date and time for. Well, she didn't have a time, but she had a different date for the start of the Republican Party. But I really trust Denise Siegel. I think she's an excellent astrologer. And so this is for March 20th, 1854 in Ripon, Wisconsin. Isn't it interesting that it's in Wisconsin? And now the convention is in Wisconsin. And she even has a time for it. And what we see here is an imbalance here. You notice most of the planets are over here, and then there's a few planets down here. There's the moon and Jupiter down here. So right there, you see that this is a party that is, not super concerned with what other people feel or think. It's more a party that really wants to go forward with their own agenda. And I'm sure we'll see something similar in the Democratic Party too. I don't, I'm not saying that they're horrible. I'm just saying it's their ilk, their personality. Now they have a quincunx between Venus and Mars, which is going to mean that they're out of balance with male and female issues. They feel uncomfortable about it. It's something they do need to resolve. Clearly, they've chosen not to try to resolve it, but rather just to try to control females. That Mars, not opposing Venus, but in a quincunx with Venus would be just awkward. If I look down here, yeah, and Mars is also squaring their natal Saturn. So difficulty accepting authority, very aggressive against authority, acting out against authorities. Now, they have gone through probably many Saturn returns, and they're not due to do another Saturn return for about 8 or 9 years, I would say. But Saturn right now is in their house for working. Are they working? I don't think they're working very well. They're not very functional right now. They've got the Mars and Uranus algol conjunction sitting on top of their natal Saturn. So that's another thing that might indicate an implosion with that party, difficulty for the party to go on anymore. They've got the moon is going, well, the moon moves too fast, so we won't worry about that. Pluto in the fifth house. They're not really having any fun. They're just, oh, this is interesting. They're just, with Pluto going through the fifth house, they're literally just forcing people to do what they want to do. They're not giving people a choice. So they are in the mode of having a takeover. That's exactly what they're in the mode of. Unfortunately, it's in Pluto in Aquarius going through there, and Aquarius isn't about takeovers. So they're at odds with the zeitgeist. They don't understand the today's problems. They're just looking at things with very old, ancient eyes. They are feeling like they're having a moment in the sun. The sun for them is going across the 10th house. So publicly, the Republicans feel like they're doing great. Everything's hunky dory. Venus is going through their 11th house. They feel like, hey, we have some backers. Apparently, I think people affiliated with the Heritage Foundation and other conservatives that are supporting Project 2025 are probably pouring money into the Republican Party. And that's indicated by Venus here coming into the 11th house for groups for them. So this worries me. I think that the Republican Party is going to take some hits after this election. I don't think they will completely meet their demise. I think they will slink off into the woods, lick their wounds for a few election cycles. And by that, I mean presidential election cycles. I don't see the Republican Party being super successful, maybe for the next decade or so. I just don't see it. I think they really have to take a beating at the polls, and then they will reform and they will come back probably when they have their Saturn return, probably in about 10 to 12 years, the Republican Party will really be a great party again. But right now, I think they're taking a beating. They're hiding the beating. They're depending on big donations, and they're just out to, kind of like pummel everybody with their decisions and do a takeover. So as a party, that is also what they're trying to do. Okay. I'm sorry.
What?
I said, I'm sorry, I'm talking so much.
No, that's cool. That's very interesting. I'll tell you what I'm getting. That they've become about the news cycle. They're all about whatever and messaging, which really bothers me about politicians. I mean, I can understand if you're in campaign mode, right before, but really they've become like something about, whatever spin to put on something. They don't really have whatever, small government or, conservative, fiscally conservative or whatever. They're not following that anymore. They just are following Trump and spinning cycles. And so right now I'm seeing that they think they've got it going on.
Yeah.
So I got this for like news cycles, spinning things, lying. Okay. And then, so they, right now they think, yeah, we got this convention. We got, some conservative guy bought CNN and they think they're pushing this candidate. They've got the Federalist Society and their project, which they actually told people. It's like you didn't do a Trojan horse and then sneak in. You're telling us, which
Yeah.
I was reading about that. It's like, okay, so you're telling us what your platform is, all these horrible things. You did a show on 2025. People
Yeah.
could look at that of what the platform is,
Yeah.
ending the Board of Education. They want people to be stupid because then they can be in control. Changing Social Security, taking away health care, taking away any woman's right to choose, taking away IVF, taking away birth control. They want to take away veterans' rights. I mean, it's horrific what they're doing. And they told us. And so my theory about that is that they really want to scare people and have this macho authoritarian like work. Because like, why would you let people know you're going to do that? Rounding up immigrants. I don't mean to scare people, but we need to be, look at, really like, what are they doing? And so to me, this isn't about the new energy, the new age that's coming in, the age of Aquarius. And you're the astrologer, so you correct me if that's not. But this isn't, I don't feel like they ever come back to the party that they are now. It's just not going to work.
Well, not for a dozen years or so.
And so here they are.
Yeah.
They've gone to abuse, negativity, dominance. I feel like the party is, I agree with you that it's just not, they cannot win. So they know they can't win. That's why they're resorting to cheating and all this, and trying to do a takeover and announcing how horrible they're going to be. So there's also a karma thing when you announce to people, like if you're a killer and you say, I'm going to kill you, and then people get afraid and they kind of like narcissists, they kind of feed off that energy, which I don't understand that. Like, it's so weird to me, but that's what it is. So yeah, I feel like you're correct in that the party falls apart, but I never see it getting back to where it was. I feel like they're going to need to make a new party because it's just,
I think, that could be what they decide to do.
Or they win and our world is over because
well, no, they're not going to win. No, they're not going to win.
No,
they're not going to. Rose Blue in the chat asked, isn't there a full moon on top of the convention? The full moon comes right after the convention. The full moon isn't until the 21st.
Yeah, but that energy is ramping up.
I was just going to say that. Exactly. Everybody feels the energy of any full moon, and this full moon is going to be the just want to check myself here because I get into Twando land and I can't think. This is the second Capricorn full moon that we're experiencing. We had one at the end of June. We're having another one now towards the end of July. And so that whenever we have those double full moons, I feel like like the period in between those two full moons where it comes back to the same sign, I feel like people are kind of like suspended. They're just kind of like, oh, what am I supposed to do? And then they get another chance at that other full moon to do what they should have done at the first time. Like you kind of get a second chance.
Yeah. I've been feeling like that kind of stuck energy, but yeah, I think that there might be, I'm looking at this again, there might be violence, but it might be violence in like, if somebody says something that a speaker doesn't like, they're like, kick that person's ass, we'll pay for it, or something, stuff like that.
Yeah, I do think there's going to be
use my language, but
no, you can say that. I do think there will be some scuffles. I don't think somebody's going to like storm the stage and tackle Trump. I don't see that because he's surrounded by too many people. But I do see within, how the conventions are so weird. They're like a pregame hootenanny, those tailgate party. It's like a tailgate party and a rock concert. And
okay. Yeah, maybe like if they're out afterwards drinking or something.
They'll be drinking right on the floor of the convention. They usually hold these conventions in places where they have imagine like a big a concert venue or like a huge hockey rink or something like that, this indoor venue where they have the big seats all the way around, they have a big stage, and then they have a floor, and they'll have all these little kind of booths set up. I don't know why they do this, but they do. It really is like a tailgate party.
Sell stuff?
They
Is there
sell
grifting?
stuff, they talk to people, they try to get like lower level Republicans who are also running, try to gain supporters, and it's just so cuckoo. It's just really just right up Trump's alley, frankly. I mean, it's just something he would love.
Yeah.
But I do see with all of that stuff, like what I saw is a skirmish, and I don't want to say that I actually think people are going to pull out guns and shoot each other, but I do think there will be guns there. I think people will have guns, but I can see people throwing fists and knocking things over, and bumping into a booth and knocking all of their. I do see stuff like that. I do think there's going to be some real emotional outbursts.
Okay, but what about like if they go out after for dinner or on the town or whatever, they're drinking and they see some woman or a person of color that says, "What about Biden?" or something. There we go.
Yeah,
They're going to feel emboldened, like, or being against Wisconsin, because Wisconsin doesn't. A lot of Wisconsin is Democrat, and they don't. They've already said awful things about the city. What city is it in again?
Milwaukee. Well, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So things like that, or if they see somebody who they think is, not with them or something, things like that.
Yeah, and Trump already made a big deal because it got out that he wasn't going to actually stay at any hotels in Wisconsin. He was going to stay at like a Trump hotel in Chicago and drive 90 minutes to the convention every day to get there. And he got called out for it. And so he said, no, I love Milwaukee. I can't wait to be there. We've got a hotel that's right in the heart of the city, blah, blah, blah. Because he does not stay anywhere but Trump hotels. If he has to go somewhere that doesn't have a Trump hotel, he just goes in for the moment and flies right back out again. So he had some egg on his face there, but I just think it's going to be weird. I think it's going to be really weird. Okay. So, okay, so let's go down our list here. Do we want to talk about the SCOTUS boys?
Oh, yeah.
The SCOTUS boys. Ugh. Okay, so let me go to, where are they? They're at the end of my list.
I would call them boys. I would call them, I don't think they're justices. They might be judges or criminals, but
they're weird. Okay, let me pull this up. So this is John Roberts' chart.
Oh.
And right now he's got Pluto at the midheaven, which means that for me, I mean, he's a Taurus rising. He's an Aquarius sun. He's a person who is very well suited to be the Chief Justice because he can be very detached emotionally from his own ideals and absolutely look at what he feels the law represents. In any case, he's really pretty good. This is why he can appear to be conservative one day and progressive the next, because he's looking at the law, and even though it seems to be a fairly unemotional person, he is tied ideologically to certain ideals and certain philosophies. No, I mean, he's human. We all have that. Now, with Pluto sitting up at his midheaven, it's going to be there for a long time because Pluto moves so slow. He is having, I'm sure, a crisis of conscience.
Yep.
Because he's having to choose literally between good and evil.
Yep.
And damn, this man does not know what to choose. I don't know what they have over this guy, but he is just he's not choosing good. He just doesn't seem to be choosing it. He seems to have been overridden by the desires of the so-called conservatives, by the MAGA wing, really, of SCOTUS. So he also is affected by this Mars-Uranus algol mess, and his is hitting his ascendant. So this guy might lose his head. I mean, he might leave. That might be the result of this. Now, I did the transits for July 15th, which is coming up in the beginning of the Republican convention. But I would not be surprised at all if the wheels started or not wheels. I mean, we got Uranus here. This would be a sudden decision. And he might just go, whoop, gotta go. Can't do this anymore. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Now, where's Saturn hitting him? Saturn is going over his moon right now. So again, he's having a dark night of the soul. He's feeling like he's really pressured. He doesn't know what to do. Oh, you do the right thing, buddy. I can tell you what to do. Just do the friggin' right thing. He's also got the North Node hitting his Mars. So he is thinking of, maybe I should just get out of here. Maybe I just don't need to be here anymore. And, that thought, I think, has been fleeting for the last couple of years, probably the last 4 or 5 years, ever since Trump was in office, probably. But now the node is smack dab on his Mars. So now he's going to take some action that will have a repercussion upon his legacy and mission in life, what he is known for accomplishing in his life. So if he wants to redeem his reputation, he might make some moves himself. Rather than him leaving, he might make some moves causing somebody else to leave SCOTUS, because he sees pretty clearly that his reputation has taken a hit. It's on the line. He doesn't know quite what to do about it now, but I think coming up in this week, I think he's going to figure out what to do.
This week?
This month. Yeah. I mean, we only have a couple weeks left of July anyway, but the planets are right there on his personal planets. The triggers are right there. Now, Saturn's a little slower moving, and I think Saturn is retrograde right now, or it's going retrograde. Yeah, it's retrograde right now.
Okay.
So Saturn is kind of backing off that moon. Maybe when Saturn goes direct, which is a couple of months. I think it's a few months before it goes direct. It's going to be waffling around there for a while. Yeah, it's till it's right after the election it goes direct. That's right. So I don't know. I'll let me rephrase that. Instead of just this week, maybe he has a few months of this. But Algol and Mars right now are really pushing on his ascendant. And that, I mean, everybody has an ego. A moon in Aquarius or a sun in Aquarius person, even though they seem detached, they have a big ego. So his ego is taking a hit right now with that Mars and Uranus over that. And I think he does not want to see his court go down in history as the most corrupt court ever. So
already is.
So, yep. So,
yeah. Okay. So when I'm looking at him, I feel like he was offered something that neither of the choices were good.
Yeah.
He felt like he didn't know. And he made a wrong choice, which is more, now it's been shown that Alito, I believe it was Alito, possibly Thomas, even took trips to the country starting with an R.
Yes.
So I feel like there's some kind of, so he didn't know, he wasn't happy with either choice in the recent cases. There's some kind of foreign connection. He's really not doing well. And when I tune into him, I don't know what this is, but it's from The Wizard of Oz. That when she's saying when her little dog escapes the witch, and she's saying, "You got away," and the music's going, "You got away, you got away." Yeah. He is really upset about feeling like, they're telling him, like, "Look, we're going to win the election and just stay with us," or and he's really upset. So he feels like somehow he's maybe pulled something off, but this is not going well.
Yeah.
He is very upset, and he's very upset about what he's hearing from the left wing, the Democrats, and then the recent Ocasio-Cortez asking for investigations, and White House and somebody else asking for So I think she was asking for an impeachment.
Yeah, AOC filed articles of
Yeah,
impeachment.
So
No,
this will probably is more symbolic right now. It actually may go through if we win. It probably will. But he's very upset. And I feel like somehow he's going to either get out of the court, he's going to try to save his name, he's going to try to come back into balance somehow, maybe after I feel like it's when Saturn goes direct. You said a couple months. I don't know when this is, but I feel like he's gonna try to come back into a better place. But right now he's really really distressed over all this, as he should be, because he's a part of it.
Yes, he's a part of it.
He's co-signed all this ridiculous, illegal behavior by the ones who are supposed to be
highest court in the land.
What? I mean, this is insanity. And he knows it's not good. He knows. He's very worried. He might even be making himself sick over this because it's so stressful. That's why I get this.
Yeah.
Is there stress or illness? What is this? Reversed. Or he's pulling back. He's pulling back. And not,
Yeah. Let me see here. Venus. His Venus is, I don't know. I don't see super big illness, but also I haven't had a chance to really dive into this chart. I just pulled it up.
Well, maybe he's pulling back. He doesn't want to deal with this. He doesn't want to be in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So
well,
he's trying to pull out of it.
Yeah, and his Mars is in the 12th house for, being hidden away, pulling back, just as you were saying. That's where the North Node is really hitting him, really making him feel like, I don't know what to do with this. And so
he's a mess. It is a mess.
It is a mess.
He has enough of a brain to know that.
Yeah.
He remembers days when he was And so is there a way that he can save his court or save his name? Yes, but not with those people in there. It's not,
I agree. So let's look at a couple of those people.
Okay.
Let's look at Mr. Alito. Good old Sam. Hi, Sam. How are you? How's it going? Let's see. How's it going for him? Well, interesting. So Saturn is opposing a bunch of his personal planets, including his natal Saturn. So he has been having kind of a tough time with figuring out issues of the law. How does he rearrange this? And so probably Saturn went into this position just as he was starting to write about the Roe v. Wade thing. So I feel that his ability to make good law, those days are way in the rearview mirror. I mean, that's just over. He's just, it's just not happening for him right now. He's got, a tough row to hoe because he's very emotional. He's very emotionally tied to these ideas, these very right extremist ideas. And he's had enough. He held off really expressing them from the bench for so long. And now that he sees that there's a little opening where he can get some approval for it, he's doing it. He's just like, fine, Trump made this okay. I'm getting whatever I'm getting from my sugar daddies or people who come from foreign countries or whatever, and I'm just going to go for it. He likes nice things. He likes luxury. He really likes it. And he's an Aries. And my first husband actually has I think the same birthday as him. And I've always felt that he had, this is my ex-husband I'm talking about. I always felt that he had like a very vivid memory of a lifetime in England where the aristocracy ruled. and like he feels very entitled to have that again. And my camera is cutting off my mouth. I'm going to just turn it down a little bit. Okay, here we go. Sorry, it's bugging me because you're not seeing me. So I think maybe Mr. Alito might be suffering from the same delusion, that he just feels like he's aristocracy and people should just take what he says, of course, and do it. He's got a Capricorn rising that doesn't do anything to downplay what I just said. That just kind of fuels it. And he just feels he deserves it. That's his thing. His North Node is conjunct his Sun in the 4th house, meaning that, he believes that l'état c'est moi. He believes that he should be treated like a king. This is Alito I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So when he sees other people who feel the same way, he's like, oh, my brothers, my comrades, yes, come on, we can all have this. Well, no, it's not in this country. Maybe you can go to another country and have it. He's got goofy stuff going on in his chart. He's not that old, but he's old enough that he's living in another era, and he's just kind of romanticizing that other era as if it should be made real today.
Yeah.
So, as far as him leaving the bench, let's see. He actually doesn't have that much. Let me see. Where's his? Okay, so Venus, Jupiter. Oh, God. Okay, that's really lucky. Ugh. So his Venus, Jupiter is conjunct, and they are in late degrees of Aquarius. So, Pluto's not going to affect that because Pluto's going to take like 20 years to catch up to them. But Saturn will be doing some things for him. So Saturn in the next 4 or 5 years will be coming up on those planets. Not soon enough for us. So there could be something else. This chart, this is the first time I'm looking at it. There could be some things that I haven't seen yet in this chart that would indicate, a drastic change of career. That's always a possibility. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, well, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, because when I look at him, and I'm glad that you brought up past lives, because he looks like some kind of aristocrat or somebody, maybe even a justice or a judge in Europe somewhere, where I see him like off with their heads.
Yeah.
I can do anything I want.
Yeah, and can't you just see a portrait of him in one of those manor houses? I can just see it.
It looks like the witch trials to me.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that too. That too.
I feel like he was part of inquisitions. He was.
Yes.
He's not really in reality of where and wants to. So a lot of the MAGA movement and a lot of these people, they want to go back to the time when men were in charge, women couldn't vote. They want to. I think that might be part of Project 2025. Women can't vote.
Yeah,
I'm not sure, but it's along those lines.
It'll go there.
Yeah, of like, we want to go back to the way it was, where we had slaves and women were told to shut up and get in the kitchen, and white men are running it. So I feel like you're right. He's looking at these people going, oh, there's my people. And he's not really in reality of where we are and what he's doing. So then the problem with that is he's taken money. Yeah, he likes luxury and
really does.
So he's taken money. And he thinks that he has a chance of pulling all this crap off, and he has nightmares coming. This is not a good place where he's going.
Yeah.
I literally, when I look at him, I see him sitting in his justice chair, and the left foot, there's somebody trying to pull him out of there. And he's like, well, his leg is like sticking out like, oh, they're trying to get rid of me. So that's what he's got. When I look at what's coming for him, I don't know when, but it doesn't look like a good place. He thinks he's like almost, I would say, delusional about what he thinks, where we're going and what he can get away with. And like he's truly living from that place of, lives before where he got away with this stuff.
Yeah. And he's 74 years old, and that's old enough to where things like a dementia or, severe loss of memory, or, certain things start to crop up. I haven't heard about any other health things with him, but it's he does not look like a person who like runs every day or rides a bike or does yoga or anything like that. He looks very soft, just a really soft kind of pasty white guy,
Yeah, that sits around all day and thinks that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
right.
maybe we go on to the big
Thomas?
kahuna.
Yeah, let's do one more, Thomas, because
And then we should toodaloo. Okay.
yeah.
So here we go. Here's Thomas. Now, Thomas, I have looked at before. The eclipses last year were not kind to Thomas. They were actually pretty bad for him. And as we've seen over the last year, every couple of months, we get more dirt on him to just make it quick. We just get more and more and more stuff coming out for him. He's got Pluto sitting on top of his natal moon, and God bless him, it's going to be there for quite some time. Hallelujah. Now his moon is really
good or bad?
As bad. That means that everything that comes out is embarrassing, basically, because it touches him at a very personal place in his life. It's embarrassing for him to see that people realize that his luxurious lifestyle isn't because he's a mastermind at investing his money, but because he's taken money from a sugar daddy. He didn't pay for his Winnebago. He didn't pay for these beautiful clothes for his wife. He got all these things as gifts. That's embarrassing for somebody like him.
Mm-hmm.
He's got, where's Saturn here? Yeah, Saturn is coming up to be in opposition to his Mars, which is, it's in opposition to his Mars. So that makes him feisty, but also worried that he did something wrong. So kind of a guilty conscience there I see for him. His moon, the transiting moon, every month it crosses his midheaven, but his midheaven and his 10th and his 11th house have Chiron there. So this is a person that has been given many chances in life. Many, many, many chances, especially chances for healing and for making good choices. And he hasn't done that. He's taken the opportunities and run with them for his own agenda. He very rarely has been thinking about other people, except maybe his wife or his nephew who he raised. That was great, but that in and of itself doesn't make a truly pristine life, right? So he is, I don't have a lot of respect for this guy. But what I see for him is that a lot of what he's doing on the Supreme Court is social. He's been there for God. He's been there since what, the 80s? I mean, he's been there for a really long time. And so this is his world. This is what he knows for social life, is sitting on the bench or being with his sugar daddy people. He doesn't really have a life outside of that. And his wife is prone to joining cults, which she has. So, that's his social world. A wife who's in a cult, the Supreme Court, and then Harlan Crow. It's like, that's a really weird social environment. So this guy is kind of, he's just kind of tilted the wrong way now, because he just doesn't quite know how to live kind of a normal life. He just is doing what he's always done, which maybe was fine in the 80s, but now it's not so fine. So this Mars Uranus Algol thing is sitting in that house, and that's probably going to impact that quite a bit. Oh God, I hate all this stuff in his 7th house. But anyway, it's gonna be hitting him pretty soon. I'd say by the end of the year, because Mars is doing this just speed racing through the signs this year. So within let's see, it's gonna be pretty quickly here. Mars is going to be in Gemini, bumping up into Cancer. So Mars is going to trigger all of his personal planets here in his 7th house, which I think is what's going to trigger him to be either booted off the bench or to have to leave the bench. And this could also indicate a health issue. He could have a severe health issue that happily coincides with that and gives him a reason to leave other than I'm just a dirty pig. So
yeah.
So he may even luck out with that stuff. So he's got a lot of lucky stuff going on with him right now. But having Jupiter in his 6th house for health doesn't necessarily mean that that's fortunate for him. It can mean that all of his health problems that already exist just get larger. So if he's got hypertension, it gets more robust. If he has heart problems, they get bigger. If he has head problems, they get bigger. If he has any health problems, it just gets exaggerated by Jupiter. That's what I see going on there. And yeah, no bueno for him. So that's what I have for him.
Okay. So for some reason, this I'm getting, well, if I'm looking more long term, it's like he looks very like his childhood was very wounded.
Yes.
He comes from a really impoverished, like dirt floor background with no parents, very an abused, terrified young man. And so to be put on the Supreme Court, and he didn't heal any of his wounds, but to be lifted up to meet Jenny and then get on the Supreme Court, he thinks he's like, I've got it, like he's accepting gifts and money. I feel like, but what's happening is he is catastrophe, foolish decisions, crazy decisions, the fool reversed.
Yes.
Like, what the heck are you thinking? And just really not, this is a catastrophe, what he's in now. And for him, he kind of knows it, but he doesn't really care. Like Alito's dreaming of this past life. Like, I feel like there's some problems with like reality. Okay. He kind of knows this, but he just doesn't care. And I feel like he is headed for a fall. I have seen him with some kind of health issue, but it's not fatal. It's more like an excuse. Well, I have to now leave but they're all holding on till the election because they think if Trump gets in there, they won't get prosecuted. They won't be removed. They can keep accepting their lavish gifts. It's fine. And so, no. So this is not going in a good direction for him. I don't know when that's going to happen, but I also see him being pulled off the court against his will. Alito and Thomas, I feel like they are going to be removed somehow. I don't know how, but So karma, tick tock, the clock is ticking. Karma is coming. I don't know when. That's going to happen, but it doesn't look good.
I agree 100%, and I think that the Democratic lawmakers now and the DOJ is beginning to understand that we came out of the coronavirus, which was a novel virus, right? But we are living in novel legal times as well. And I think they're going to have to come up with some novel, novo legal remedies for what's going on. I mean, if I had my way, I would just say, well, with that Supreme Court decision, I think Joe Biden should just declare that DJT is a felon and not eligible to run as president, and just be done with it.
Yeah. Why are we not doing that?
Why are you pussyfooting around?
Because I'm not. Yeah, it's crazy the way. Yeah. And then saying Jack Smith is not a point. Like what? And their decision on that immunity case was unclear. And you hear legal law. I'm not a lawyer, but what I hear lawyers talking about is that now Trump can be made to be a witness to all these other people who helped him commit these crimes, and so he's going to have to. He can be called as a witness for prosecuting them. And so my question is, why aren't we prosecuting the other people further down when That would be the next show. Like, when are we going to do that? And I'm also concerned. I feel like Biden gets in there, but excuse me.
God bless you.
Me. Yeah, thank you. I'm concerned about us getting a majority in the House. I feel like the Senate feels a little better, but if we don't get a majority in the House, they can write, these crazy cuckoos are still going to be in there. And we should have been, Merrick Garland. I like him, but I'm like, why weren't these people already prosecuted? They just got little letters and we're being investigated. What happened? Why are we have all these criminals sitting in there? They're not, and they're bringing up Hunter Biden or, and so like, that would be my thing of like, why hasn't that happened? And because even if Biden gets in, he needs a good Congress to end the filibuster, to change, to make some really significant changes. And so that's where I feel like the attention needs to be, not on, should we keep Biden for his, like, who are you going to put in there? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, exactly. It's like a dream of like, well, if we got James Clyburn, he's not going to win president. I mean, he might be a nice senator. Was he a senator or a congressman? He's not congressman. He's not going to be a president. I just don't see it. I mean, who are you going to put in there? And they're like, well, I mean, like, while they're doing that, they're weakening the Democratic position for the Congress people. So it's like, when are you going to stop and get on the bus and let's do this, So that's kind of what I'm looking at, that energy of, and that will greatly affect what the Supreme Court can and cannot do.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like you're looking at the astrology. That was really enlightening. Thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
But I don't feel like they can stay in there.
No, I don't either. And, as far as Merrick Garland goes, could someone please get the man a vitamin? I mean, that poor guy. He just he needs a B12 shot stat. Like, he just needs like that.
Yeah.
And the rest of the
he's a judge. He's trying to be fair. But
exactly.
This is not the time for careful. This is time to like get it done. There's a time to like get things moving.
Agreed. And the rest of the Democrats, I just wish I had Cher from Moonstruck slap them all across the face and say, snap out of it. Like, they all need to.
There are some good, like Jack Crockett and
Eric Swalwell,
and Jamie Raskin.
Been a little weird. Jamie
Raskin, Goldman. There are people who they're taking the hits. They're in there every day, and they're calling it out. And so, I mean, I don't feel like Merrick Garland's going to stay Attorney General. If Biden gets elected, which I think he will, I don't feel like he's going to stay. And maybe then things will move forward a little bit
quicker,
faster. I know the law moves slow and he has to follow, the rules. I don't think he's a bad man. I just think it's like, please, can we?
Yeah. Well, next time we get together, we got to talk about the Democratic convention.
Okay.
We got to talk about Merrick Garland.
Yeah, let's do that. This was cool.
Yeah, and we can talk more about, like, we didn't even get to like AOC, and hopefully
she's amazing. Yeah.
She is.
If you watch her, tune in, see what she's doing. She is on top of it.
Oh yeah, she's on fire. She is on fire. And I don't want to keep you. I know you have some other commitments, but everybody in the chat, thank you so much. I love that you guys were here, because I'm so bad at paying attention to the chat. But I did read what you guys were saying. It was really, really an energetic conversation going on right alongside the show. And I really thank you for that. God bless every single one of you. I just am so grateful that you're here.
Can I say that it really helps if you subscribe to our channels and ring the bell? That way you'll know when Colleen is on, or when I'm on, or when we're on together. If you ring the bell, then it'll notify you so you won't miss anything. And also I have some really cool classes coming up. If you check out my website, that is available as well. So I just wanted to mention that. But if you're new, please subscribe. It really supports us, and it's completely free. And we're in this together. So let's do this. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Sibyl. That was
Okay.
really great. And let's plan for a show either at the very end of July or beginning of August so that we
Okay.
can get some of this stuff together. I'll email you because I got to let you go now. Thanks, everybody. You were wonderful. And Sibyl, you are amazing. And I got to get a reading.
I love it. You're amazing. You did awesome astrology. Thank you.
So how do I get a hold of you for a reading? Should I just email you or should I go to your website or what do you want me to do?
Yeah, email me and we'll talk about it.
Great. Okay.
Okay.
All right, everybody.
All right. Take
Hang
care.
in there. We love you. Joe Biden, vote blue. Here we go.
Okay.